you and I are not on the same page. Like, I'm trying to convey our not on the same pageness. And there's a kind of emotional aggression in 4 that 9 typically doesn't feel
It's
comfortable.
neutralizing.
It's yeah, exactly. Yeah, 9 likes to neutralize really strong, kind of polarizing emotions.
And synthesize and pull things together, really.
Yeah.
And there's something about the combination of those two types that's even in the dark about itself. It's almost like separate from even your previous perception of yourself.
The big hormone enneagram.
I'm John Lekovich, 4-wing-5, sexual self-pres, 458 trifix.
I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual, 9 with 1 wing, 974 trifix.
What up, it's Emeka. I'm an 8-wing-7, sexual self-pres with 854 fixes.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a social self-preservation 9-wing-1, 963 trifix.
Like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify, and leave us a review. If you want to support the show with a donation, you can find us on Venmo at Big Hormone and paypal.me/Big Hormone. If I remember correctly, someone was introduced on this podcast like, hey, Alexandra has new insights about wings that she'd like to share with us. And there she comes with her notes. And guys, I've been thinking about this. And it was a part 1 and it was a part 2. It's like, let's do 9 wings. And then, oh, wait, I was doing that? How did that become a me thing?
I just showed up here.
We're not going to entertain those kind of delusions. You are a person who did something and started something that people wanted more of.
Person, Alexandra.
That you didn't want to continue because you were bored of.
Wow. I'm so impactful.
Just say that you were bored and you didn't want to continue. That's all you had to say. It's like, I don't feel like doing that anymore.
Well, it was, I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but the 3 wings just like stopped us all. Maybe you know what I mean?
For obvious reasons. We heard some things where they were like, oh, that's not right. That's
right. Right.
That's definitely
God.
Not true.
That was rough.
But we'll let it ride. I think I purposely let the pause of disbelief that we had after that those things were said. I didn't edit that out. I let that sit.
Yeah. Yikes, God.
A pregnant pause.
Oh. They don't lie, huh?
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Yeah. Anyway.
But here's the thing. We have talked about the 4 wings. We have talked about 4 wings.
Yeah, right. We've talked about them
so,
in brief. Yeah.
So it's not like it's
quite a bit.
Where did we talk about them?
We talked about them in the first episode. I mean, when she was introducing her wing insights, it was, she was talking about 4-wing-3, 4-wing-5. And I think we did an episode where we hit on wings sort of riffing, and we talked about 4-wing-5 versus 4-wing-3. The wing splainers episode.
Wing splainers.
Yeah, so it's been here and there, but like, be nice to.
So we haven't done
hit it
the head
directly.
types, is that right?
4, 5, 6, 7 is what is left.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I thinking we did 4?
We've done 4 stuff so many times that
Yeah. Yeah, you guys love 4.
I mean,
Love talking about 4.
It's not the love.
Yeah, I think you love 4 too.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, let us introduce you to
Yeah,
John.
well, being with the 3 of you, and especially with John, has been like just a front row seat to just the strangest behaviors. And
you mean amazing behaviors?
So strange.
Amazing behaviors.
Behaviors
Most interesting.
you thought you'd never have the privilege to be around.
David, your volume's a
Right.
little low. Just check it.
Is it?
A little bit up.
Should we intro, or are we live?
Let's intro, because I got some things to promo.
So which one are we going to do?
We're doing 4 wings today.
Okay. I wasn't here when we were talking about it a minute ago.
No, you were.
He was mentally not here.
Yeah.
So, okay,
we just spent like 10 minutes talking about what we're doing, and David's like, what are we doing? I wasn't here.
It's a running gag at this point. So
dealing with minds.
All right, I'm gonna promo. Go ready?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. First thing is we are coming up on our 200th big hormone episode. So
That's some really big hormone going.
something very hormonal. So I don't know. We should
200
do
cycles.
something for that. One of the things we've talked about is having people. We've done like love line submit questions and stuff, but it might be kind of fun to do advice for some of the ridiculous brain damaged stuff that we hear from people. I don't know, that could be funny.
Mhm.
So, or you could just submit whatever to our love line for our 200th
Comments,
comments, complaints,
stories,
yeah,
anything
stories.
interesting.
I can
Keep
give
keep it
mental
simple.
health
Complaints
advice.
could be fun.
Mental health advice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's my specialty.
Mental health advice. I don't think this is the group for that.
And mental
What do you
health.
What do you mean?
No,
Like,
take your mental health concerns to a professional and not to this podcast.
Oh,
people
what?
want to be entertained. They don't always
I
need
know.
help. They want
Okay,
jokes.
all right. If-
Entertainment
Hey,
is
under the
help.
framing of entertainment, fine. Tread with caution.
We're not
please.
healthcare professionals. We are entertainers.
Okay, all
This
right.
is
As
not
long as that's
medical
explicit.
advice.
You can just clock
Okay.
into the sadness factory
God.
that we run here.
And then, well, never mind.
Sadness
I
factory.
won't say the next thing about.
And then
Starts with an
That's good.
S.
Thank you.
Christmas coming up, so please buy my book as a gift for people, or just buy a lot of copies as a gift to me.
Yeah. Buy 10 extra copies.
Buy 10 extra just for me. And then buy David's Trifix thing too, for yourself or others for Christmas. And then Josh and I, and especially Josh, worked really, really hard on this intro course, Enneagram intro course. I really do think it's the best thing
Josh.
on the Enneagram out there. Like, I really,
Cool.
it's like, I was like blown away listening to it. It's me and Josh teaching the Enneagram. It's like 9 hours worth of content.
Wow.
And then it also comes with like an online, you can print it out like booklet or whatever that has
Mhm.
diagrams and stuff like this. But it's like, it in itself is like a great piece of stuff to have, and it grounds all the audio stuff. And so we just really go over all the types, all the basics. Something that people have complained about is, we've got this very dense podcast and a lot of this dense material, and not really knowing a good place to start. So it's gonna, I think, get released in January, but you can pre-order it for, again, yourself or others for Christmas. Another Christmas thing. And then
Do you know how much it's going to be? Yeah.
I don't actually. Josh would know.
Come
Josh
on. Where's that?
edited so much. He worked so hard on it, and we actually recorded a "What It's Like to Be You" pod the other day.
Oh,
because
nice.
On the making of it, where basically Josh was like super burned out, and it started like I opened it with, Josh, why are you burned out?
Oh my God.
He's just listened and edited so much, and I mean, he did an amazing job. We're both very proud of it. And then let's see. Oh, I'm considering doing some kind of like early March, kind of like in-person Enneagram workshop retreat, 2-day kind of thing. More details about that through the Enneagram School. Probably rent an Airbnb and just use that as a spot. I'm thinking that the topic will be something on essence, because it's easy to, you can talk about essence, but it doesn't mean anything. And so we will do breath work and do more experiential work there. And then I think there was, I don't know, Alexandra, if you agree with this, but we have been talking about Alexandra starting up an attachment type support group again. Do you want to say anything on that, or no?
Just look out for it. Josh and I are talking about it. John and I are talking about it. So it's upcoming. We'll give more details, notes, information about it as it materializes in the future. Yeah.
Are you going to lead that project,
I
Alexander?
am going to lead that
Oh,
project.
wow.
Mm-hmm. I will be the
And look at that. We got a hex
feminine nine
infiltrating.
holder.
Infiltrating
Yeah.
the attachment
Yes.
space. You just couldn't do it without us after all.
Okay, all right.
Look at that.
Okay, that's
at
not
that.
what happened.
Yeah,
That's
I
not
might
what
be-
happened.
Look at that.
I might be
That's not what
Alexandra's
happened.
Hexad side bitch
God.
on the.
You
guys
can't
are
do without
the
us.
most insufferable species.
Can't do it without us. You must call on the
No,
assistance of the Hexads
No,
once
that's not
again.
what happened. That's
Once
not what
again.
happened. Oh, Emeka, I just want to
Attachment
muzzle
can't
you.
survive.
I just
Can't survive without us.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Couldn't even just survive on your own. Had to be
Excuse me.
rescued by a Hexad.
Lost
once
children
again.
in a grocery store.
I know.
Bermuda.
Oh
The
my
bread
God.
people.
Okay. Did I come here to be insulted?
Yes, you did. That's what the fuck you did. Abused and insulted.
I'm over it. Nope, I'm over it. All right, we're moving on.
All right.
Be
So-
strong. Be fierce.
Speaking of Alexandra, Alexandra really kicked off her co-hostness on the pod with her Wing series way back in episode 115. So that's
You might
This is
say
What are we on
she.
now?
we just released 95.
Yeah.
So
you might
it's been
say
a
she
while.
infiltrated podcast space with
Infiltrated
this
Mm.
wing stuff.
Oh, was this how she wedged
That's
herself
how she got
in?
herself in.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
You guys, I guess you guys just couldn't
Manipulation.
do it without a triple attachment. I
Right.
guess that's what I'm hearing.
That's why she
What
tried to
happened
forget it.
after I showed up? Everybody suddenly was like, "Oh, this is listenable and enjoyable." That's what happened, right?
Oh,
Right.
That's what happened. Suddenly
Right.
it was like, wow, some personality has shown up, some sparkle and charm and dazzle. And everyone's
People
like,
just-
Alexandra's great.
They like the context.
What a gift. You're welcome, Emeka, specifically.
just-
Thank you for editing my
Bread.
genius.
Bread people
Enough from
appreciating
you.
your breadness. That's all
Enough
that is.
from you. Sit and be quiet.
You're the bread whisperer.
The
Congratulations.
All I
the
hear is
alien
jealousy.
slave worker race.
I can't hear you
appreciates
from way up here.
It's all the people who can't relate to our exceptionalism that
Did you guys
relate to
hear
your
Yeah.
to your
David, do you?
breadness.
David, can you maybe check your mic? There's like a buzz coming from like your end.
Not everybody's on
Sounds
the
like an
plane of
8.
existence that
I am a
am.
little
that-
bit buzzed.
They're not all at
yeah.
that at this level
it's
to
still
understand
happening.
me.
Why is it keep going? It just-
Can't really keep up with
It
us.
doesn't stop. My God. You
Mhm.
just hear some kind of, I don't know, some hum in the background. that makes
Brilliant.
no
Such a
sense.
perfect 9 versus 8. Going harder and being annoying.
Yeah.
Going harder and ignoring.
Ignoring. I do not hear this.
So
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
go check out some of those older episodes if you're for that whole Wing series. We've gotten all the way up to 3 now. We touched on 4 before, but we're kind of putting life back into into the series because the people have been asking for it. So we're doing 4 today.
Resuscitating the dead. The
Mhm.
Force.
Bringing the dead back.
Mhm.
I guess
I
there's
kind of
a
figured this. You go ahead.
there's a way that we approached it. There was like a sort of like a flow,
Did we have an
Yeah.
actual format?
not a format, but like there was a couple of things that Alexandra would present so that we could hit or riff on.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
do the same thing.
Yeah, something like along those lines. But I mean, we could figure out another way. If-
Do you have the schedule?
No, it's
the bullet
it's effectively the
points,
same
Alexandra?
thing. Yeah, I mean, kind of loosely. But it's effectively the same thing. In the first bit, maybe we can hand it over to our resident 4, but would be to explain 4 as a core before we start to, dissect the influence of the wings on that core. So something to start off with right away is that 4 wing 5 and 4 wing 3 are both 4s, right? Like with any other thing, they're not 2 entirely different species. They're both 4s. They're still doing 4-ness. Anyway.
Even though I'd like to pretend that 4 Wing
Mhm.
3 is a different species.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, you guys love to be different. Yes, yes. Okay.
No,
go
well,
ahead.
I mean, something that I think led up to the Alexandra Wing series was hearing way back the episodes with 4s of different wings and 5s of different wings, and being like, just like blown away here at how like differently 4 wing 3s experience their 4-ness than I do. And so yeah, do you want me to just talk about what a 4 is, or how do you want?
Let's just start with what the core 4 is. Just in brief, as brief as you can. As go
Five
ahead.
things activate.
No,
I handed this over to the wrong man for brevity.
you go ahead. What is a 4,
Mhm.
baby?
No. You do it. You're better at explaining it than I am.
Oh man. All right. Well, 4 is in the heart center. Heart center is concerned with how I know and express my identity. So with 2, it's how they emphasize the part of identity that we know and express through relationships. 3 is the part of our identity that we know and express through like basically achieving something or actualizing our potential, like growing or becoming something, turning what our potential is into something actual. And then 4 represents the part of our identity that is like uniquely yours, independent of any external influence. And so part of the wound 4 feels is that they have this inner sense of self that the outside world just there's no connection between the inner world and the outer world. The outer world is like it's shallow, it's superficial, it's humiliating, and it's alienated from this like sort of inner precious sense of identity. And so 4 is a frustration type, and there's this constant frustration that the boring, shitty, tacky parts of life are continuously trying to take my attention out from myself and into the world. And like, 4 wants to be in this self-reinforcing, individuation, self-gaze process. I want to like know myself. I want to be steeped in my own energy. We've talked in other episodes how as a frustration type, all the frustration types are reacting against some kind of failure on the part of their early holding environment to give them what they needed. And so 4s felt like nothing sees me, nothing knows me. I'm going to see and know myself. And so 4s have a lot of energy in terms of this kind of self-masturbatory self-gaze, in part because, it's like they're sort of greedy about their own identity because the sort of choice, in quotes, the choice to I'm going to know myself, I'm going to be myself, I'm going to express myself happened at a fairly young developmental age. So like the tools developmentally with which to see and know myself are kind of actually immature. And so that's why there's this like precious guardedness where I'm fearful that either like something is going to take me away from that connection with myself or is going to pollute that connection, or is going to I'm going to express myself in a way that feels like I'm going to be or express, like inhabit a way of being that is not me. And so there's a lot of guardedness on what's me and keeping what is not me out. And one of the ways that 4s deal with shame, 2, 3, and 4 all deal with different qualities of shame. 4s dismiss outside sources of gaze. People are too shallow, stupid. They don't get me. They couldn't get me. I don't want them to get me. Anything else I should add there?
No, I think that's good. You guys, the other 4 fixers on the call, have anything else?
Well, I was going to ask, is there, I could see, of course, some 9s managing to retrofit themselves into some of that. Is there some things you can sort of separate out, to put a divide there?
Yeah, so 9s and 4s have a lot of like things that you could write down on paper in common. Like they don't necessarily show up in a common way, but like both sensitive, creative. Some 9s can be very offbeat, this kind of a thing. But let's see, one of the main differences is that 4s are, as an image type, they're trying to embody in their image, in the way they represent themselves, a sense of like you and I are not on the same page. Like I'm trying to convey are not on the same page in this. And there's a kind of emotional aggression in 4 that 9 typically doesn't feel
It's
comfortable with.
neutralizing.
It's yeah, 9 exactly. Yeah, 9 likes to neutralize really strong, kind of polarizing emotions.
And synthesize and pull things together, really.
Mhm, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Whereas
Yeah.
4 is pushing away, is saying no. There's kind of like I have this meme on the Big Hormone meme account where it's like eye contact with a 4, and it's like this woman whose eyes are 2 middle fingers, like
Yeah.
like
Mhm,
unfolding.
Yeah, it's Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, and that kind of quality where I'm letting you know that my individuality is separate from yours, and it is precious to me, and you're not going to get it. Don't even try to get
Yeah.
it. And part of what makes a 4 relax is when the person goes, "I'm not going to get this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also amplified. I mean, you kind of said it, but because 4 is an image type, so they want you to see that you're not on the same page
Yeah. Yeah.
It's also reactive. Like
Right.
it's a big difference between
Yeah.
4 and 9 is that you could say that of all the types in the Enneagram, the combination of frustration and reactivity makes her a very disagreeable personality structure. You know,
Yeah,
just
it's potent.
cutting and
It's cutting.
it's quarrelsome. I don't want to just make it seem like, oh, you're just a just like an asshole type, but more so than even 8, I would say it's withdrawn in a sense of pushing away with their reactivity, and it's trying to
Right.
provoke a reaction and sort of the emptiness of identity from the image center. And that's from my experience between 4s and 9s, like I've never confused a 4 with a 9.
Right.
Ever.
And all of that is one reason why your favorite artist or singer or famous person is more likely going to be a 9 rather than a 4, because everything we're saying is a significant general dysfunctionality to get something done in the world.
Right.
Right. I mean, there are compensating
good,
factors with instincts and trifix and so forth, and things that help. And 4's got a competency wing on either side, so it's not totally useless. But it's just every step you've got to take to get somewhere in the world requires cooperation and and commonality, et cetera, right? So,
4s are very uncomfortable with all that, and notoriously impractical. And to Emika's point, like my experience of 4s is they are. It's almost like they have a compulsion to try to make people a little bit uncomfortable on like an emotional level.
there
Like
you go. Yes.
to represent some kind of like sore spot or bleeding wound or something that's gonna like just emotionally discomfort. Whereas like other types, like 7, as obnoxious as they can be, still kind of wants an upness. 8 wants to chill. Ultimately, even if they like to provoke, they still want to like chill. There's a little bit of like an offness 4 is always trying to introduce.
Yeah,
I mean,
negative emotional landscape, right? More comfortable. It's like, I don't know, realness or truth or something is happening if there's something negative in the emotional landscape or something.
Yeah, with the reactivity, real quick, the reason I think it's of all the reactive types, 4, you could say 4 is the worst, because I think the frustration plus the reactivity. Whereas like
I think
8,
so too. Yeah.
8 reactivity, you're dealing with the rejection wall. So like an 8's inner world might be really calm, but out there is all chaos because that's what they're provoking. So there's a separation. 6 is doing reactivity in the mental center. From an attachment point of view, they want everybody to be in their mind and sort of like get everyone rattled. But 4 seems like a stab to the heart. Like
it's an
wanting
image type. Yeah, it's a heart
really it's more painful and more in a sense more reactive in a very pointed sense than any of the other reactive types, even if they're withdrawn. It seems like it's more cutting.
Yeah, and there's a certain I was going to use the word aggressive earlier, and while I do think that is accurate for the image that I get around the word aggressive is something more like something more blunt and something more like pushing against you. Whereas I think the intersection between frustration and what is the other one, and reactivity, is something more like it's like tense and it's got like friction, and it's not always like friction like I'm trying to cause friction externally somehow, but it's like an internally self-generated friction that you just end up feeling as like a landscape that gets emitted.
Isn't it
so
also
seen.
something like just like a quote unquote wrong use of the gut center, the rage, that's kind of part of the
That's
fuel.
interesting.
Yeah.
You're saying 4 is the wrong
4,
use of the gut center?
Well, and it's also just getting to the symbolic, opposite side of the Enneagram circle. Partly
symbol,
it's, I mean, 4s and all types still have a gut center. They're using that fuel, however, to light fires with this reactive frustration.
That's good.
That's like 4 is a heart type that scrambles the thinking center and then is out of touch with the body center. But when the body center energy gets into the 4 thing, it's enhancing the emotional, mental reactionness.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not embodied, and then I'm like fucking worked up.
Yeah, the
that's
word
true.
friction. The word friction makes me think about. I can see that with all the frustration types in each of the centers, wanting some kind of friction. Even though 7 seems, positive, but there's a certain kind of ambient frustration in the mental center that 7 needs. And so just thinking about 4 in terms of ambient emotional frustration that needs to provoke with the reactivity, it's a very, potent combination.
And I think just to kind of round it out too, like the fact that 4 is a withdrawn type means that like boundaries are not, really there. It's vulnerable. That's why it withdraws. And where was I going to go with that? Oh, okay. So that in combination with like reactivity and frustration, like a lot of that can be, how do I say this? We can see 4 generating all of that like friction, all of that energy. If you guys have all seen Dark, you remember the God molecule? That just like kind of like thing. That's what 4. That's like my conceptualization of 4.
Yeah, that kind of brings me to what. Well, keep going if you want to.
Okay, so to finish it up, it's okay, so there is a lack of boundaries just naturally being a withdrawn type, which is like the reason that withdrawal happens. It's out of like a self-protecting kind of thing. So what I was going to say is that a lot of the frustration is to keep the outside influence out.
There you go.
Because it's to keep the outside influence. It's a defense mechanism to keep the outside influence away so that it can like quiet and settle enough to find this like originally crafted identity material to then, kind of like drench itself in that.
And that's what I mean. It's kind of the gut is in some way through a wormhole or whatever, forcing itself, it's doing boundaries because that's gut center stuff by doing frustration and reactivity.
Yeah.
It's sort of a wrong, quote unquote, way to do boundaries, but because of the inherent boundaryless quality of 4, 5, and 9, they each do a different whatever method of doing boundary. And that's how the 4 is doing it, is by amplifying frustration and reactivity. So there's a lot of sharpness.
Yeah, like it is a thing where I think it'll probably be pretty confusing, but like when I get really overwhelmed, then I get really explosive, which means my energy is actually at its most depleted, and I feel the most vulnerable, and I feel the most unable to hold a boundary against whatever's happening. But it's like, to regulate, and then, but it's like, it switches on, and I get really big energy wise, but it's like, it's actually because I'm so open and unboundaried, but it probably looks, it's probably confusing to be in the receiving end.
Yeah, because when a 9 gets overwhelmed, it's more, dissociating as a body
Shut
type,
down, right.
Shutting down, going blank.
Whereas I'll like shut down and then
trying to regulate.
get big.
So you get more reactive, I guess, once
my
overwhelmed.
defenses are down. Yeah.
Yeah, because priority number 1 is like get out, right? It's get out. It's I need to be an original, piece of work, like get out.
Well, and that's also another boundary is I am not like you or that or those. I'm not like everything. So that's a boundary. It's got a bunch of holes in it, but it's a boundary.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof, man. Yeah.
So that's interesting, I guess, to look at. I don't know if we're ready to go there yet, but just like the different ways of 4 and 3 is doing that. It's interesting because I think of 4 and 3 seems to have more of an ability to be in the world, and because it seems like 4 and 3 seem more openly disagreeable, openly willing to verbalize, I'm not like there's more muscle from the 3 wing. There's a muscle in that I'm always ready to let you know that that's trash, and I'm not like that.
Yes,
that's right. It's
So
assertive, right? It's got an assertive push, and it's an assertive in the heart space too. So it's like it's displaying its identity more
And it's
than the forming 5 is.
It's
And it's
more
like,
in the
I-
world too with 3,
Mhm.
so to
yeah,
speak.
and like to Emika's point, it's like more branded, right? It's more like I'm not like that, you know,
Right.
like it's like there's a locating self, even if it's like against the collective, it's still in relation to the collective in some way.
It gets at this thing where 3s have the inherent ability to, well, I mean, there's some confusion there, like attachment to disconnect, but 3s have an ability to tap into the collective heart of like, this is what it
Mhm.
is. This is what I am relative to what the collective desires.
Mhm.
And with the 4th thing, with the 3 wing, it feels like they're able to more effectively make the distinction of this is who I am relative to what's out there in a way that you all can recognize and see
Mhm,
that this is
yes.
distinct. And what I see, at least, from the limited experience or exposure to 4 wing 5s that I've seen, is that it's so intersubjective and so self-contained, but it's also trying to grasp at that God particle thing
Mhm.
that is ephemeral and also feels like when you capture this thing, that if you try to capture it again, you have to start over.
Mm,
So at
God,
least what I've
yeah.
noticed with you, John, is that you're so self-contained in your
Yeah.
identity on one hand, but at the same time, it's easier for someone to pierce through and to sort of move the sort of like God particle in the sense that you're not doing the three wing thing of it's not so solidified that your identity is just so distinct. Like it's like a thing, and so it's almost like you have to go in there and start over and be like, where does that thing that pierced through fit? Like you always have to go back into the cave and figure out like
Mm,
Yeah, that's
what.
really good.
Yeah.
that is really good.
But it's so self-contained that you're not paying attention to the
Right.
full picture that you always have to kind of refigure out like what
Oh,
it
that's
is.
so good.
That's
This-
really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that really,
This gets
that
at
really
also
hits.
my idea of 3 as the heart as a muscle, where
Mhm.
you're pumping iron, so to speak. You're making solidity. You're making form. And through repetition and goals and da 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 da. Right. If you're just looking at 3 unto itself, so it is making form, and it's in the world as an attachment type, whereas
Mhm.
5 is abstraction and so forth, right?
Yeah, conceptual reality. Yeah. Hmm.
So I think what I've noticed with you, John, is that it feels like that space is it's almost like the ability to go into someone's inner world, your own or somebody else's, and look at something as if you've never seen it before.
That feels right.
And to sort of like, without 3, you don't have the categories, you don't have the outer context. It's like, I'm going to go in here and like 4 and 5 is that I'm going to go into that God particle, and whatever gets formed now is whatever it is.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good. I think just a way to kind of extend that, it's like the 3 element being. So 3 is also, it's just we'll say mapping. I know that's like a head type word, but just
Mhm.
for the attachment sense, it does have like an emotional map. It does have
Yes.
like an emotional landscape, and it knows where everything is. And the assertive climbing, athleticism of 3 is working to like materialize that map and to fill it up and to create, this just like, this just like a work of art or whatever. But it's keeping tabs on what already is there and what still needs to be there. So I think that is a contrast, Emika, to what you're saying to forming 5. Is it's like it goes in to find the it goes in to find the God particle, but it lacks the tracking of what has already been found and identified with and created, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So
that it has to start over almost like a newborn in a way.
So this gets
every
to
time.
4 plus 5 is 9, and that's the most opposite to 9, right? So there's kind of an inversion of 9ness is kind of almost what we're saying, which is that sense of what you all just said about needing to start over again every day, because that's something that you say about 9s, but it's completely different in the sense that 9s are starting over on connecting back to every particle in the universe or something,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And 4-wing 5 is imploding into the smallest micro something that you ever could away from everything or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. 9 is reconnecting
Yeah,
intimately
something,
with every little tiny thing.
Yeah.
And 4 every day is just get away, get me out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if you realize that, but it feels like it's almost like separate from even your previous perception of yourself. Like
yeah,
it's like
totally, yeah.
That's
the
interesting.
point has to be like separate again. So it's like you have to go back in there to find that point, but it can't be related to the point before. But it's like it's never ending
God.
search for the point, you know?
This is stressing me out.
No, for sure. No, there's something I don't know how to quite respond to that yet, but there, like it's hit something about that, like when I get like on mushrooms and stuff, that I'm really aware of in a non-verbal, very abstract way. But it's like I remember like last time we were all hanging out, and I was like, I'm a shape, like an abstract shape that you couldn't actually draw. It's
Yes.
moving,
Yeah.
and it was like this sort of thing. Yeah, that's very interesting.
No, I think the thing that made me think about that is in the head center, trying to understand 5-4, there is something about like feels almost anti-head center in the sense that it's hard to hold on to categories or even insight. And there's something about the combination of those two types that's even in the dark about itself.
Mm.
And once like the discovery is predicated on that, in the sense that you don't hold on, like in ketamine, you go into the back rooms, you can't leave with the insights.
Yeah.
Like it's only in that space.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it's unique to whatever happened in that space. And so once you leave the nothing, you can't take it with you. And so it feels like 4-wing 5 is doing that with identity. Because you'll say stuff sometimes that surprises me, that it's like from a 4-3 perspective, it feels like once you've nailed it, you only get more distinct in terms of what you've nailed. But with 4 or 5, it doesn't feel like you have like a nailing
That's good.
category.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good right there. Yeah.
Like you always start over, it seems like sometimes with certain things.
It's not random, it's not just like
Right.
like close my eyes, throw a dart or something. But
Yeah.
like there's a vibe that stays moving, but like there was something, that I guess that God particle from dark thing. It's like that that's a thing, but it's like it doesn't have just keeps
form.
unfolding. Yeah, it doesn't have a
Yeah.
form. And there's something like that. Yeah. I also like when I'm working with like clients and stuff, I go like we go super deep with people, but like it's like it becomes its own labyrinth, like in a session. And then like I always have to spend time before I talk to that person again, looking at our notes and being like, what was the labyrinth, so that there's some like there's some consistency, but like but so we can open a new labyrinth or something.
Yeah, that's a very interesting distinction, at least that I've noticed.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's really good.
It's like it's not a functional 4 in a certain sense.
Yeah. Even more
that's
dysfunctional
interesting.
than 4-wing 3. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always notice like with 4-wing 3 that there's kind of said this earlier, but like there's a way that 4-wing 3 is always trying to represent something that's not on the map.
Mm-hmm.
It's always trying to be like there's something beyond the map, like so there's still a reference to the map, but there's always like I'm gonna be way out here,
but I'm gonna advertise it.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you know,
what I mean?
and I'm communicating that there is an off the mapness that you could someday reach, maybe, but probably not. Too,
That's good. Yeah, that's true.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Like,
it still has that antenna tapped into where everything is and what everybody is looking at. 4-wing 3 is still tracking what is being looked at. And that's the influence of the wing. And then in service of the core means that, how do I say this? It gets to turn away. It gets to show that it is distinct by being aware of what is at a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
So like I know what is popular, then that's stupid and dumb and wrong, and I'm over here instead, where it's like beautiful and aristocratic.
Yeah, I'm even thinking about 4-wing 3 artists who they make original stuff, but it's not that far off. It's different, it's unique, but it's not that far off the map. Like you think about Prince's music and some other 4-wing-3s. It's unique to them. It's personal, subjective, but it's still playing within pretty recognizable genres. And not to say that I think 4-wing-5s can tend to do more stranger things because of their sort of like overly subjective style. But it's not to say that they're inherently more creative. It's just
Yeah, I think
stranger,
4-wing-3 has like a closer pulse on the fact that it needs to be recognizable. It's still double image. It's just still this like double art form, we'll say, even
showing everybody that you're above everybody.
Yeah, well, it's more display, it's more advertising. We could even say it's more relating. It doesn't have to be positive relating, but just that attachment influence is more like we're connected still in a way. And so it's still needing witnessing in a way that I think 4-wing-5, just for a couple of different reasons. One, 4-wing-5 is does not have that attachment piece. It's a rejecting piece instead. So it's and then on top of that, it's a lot. And then on top of that, it's double hexad too. So it's not tapped in. It does not need the witnessing. And then on top of that, it's not double image. And so the identity is being reinforced by, like we said earlier, this conceptual reality instead of this like double artful kind of crafting. The artful crafting comes through concepts and symbols and ideas and this just like original, the absolute beginning of everything that you are as an individual person.
Yeah, that like beginning holy origin kind of thing is like, it is that weird wormhole to 9. Like I do recognize a certain kind of 9ishness in myself just through my 4-wing-5ness. Like especially I mean, you guys have seen me in certain modes, just like there's a certain way that I like want to be, it's not like transcending like a 9, but it is like getting, if the universe has this sort of, like you think of like the Milky Way with that kind of shape. And then there's like, I feel like 9 wants to go up here and I want to go down here on the map or something.
Yeah. It's a similarity of formlessness partly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Totally. I was curious though, when you guys were talking about the 4-wing-3 thing with like getting more detailed about a specific, like, is it like aesthetic or like or like note or like what were you kind of had in mind there?
It'd be like in a design, in like having a certain aesthetic sense of what you're trying to evoke with one's identity, and being aware that I'm really into this genre. Let's use a music analogy. Like I'm really into this genre, and maybe other people are hearing other things, but you want to continue to reinforce that this genre is not like the other ones.
Well, you said it earlier, building a brand.
But do you like? I guess I'm trying to get at like the personal connection to that. In air quotes, like project, like where that like is the personal thing is like the that's so much of what makes four. And so where's the how does that feel personal, or where does it go in a personal direction?
Let's see. I'm thinking about it's like your own subjective inclinations are what they are, but at some level you're still wanting to frame them. Like, I mean, it's your personal taste. Like at the end of the day, it's your subjective personal tastes. It just seems like with the 4-wing-3 or with the 3-wing that you're able to on some level be able to see that it's distinct or it's a thing. Like I guess that's what it is. It's like to be able to take your group of subjective preferences, aesthetics, or whatever, and recognize what it is as a thing. To be able to do that, to be able to like frame it and be like, this is my thing. So whenever there's a conversation about things, it feels like that's something that 4-wing-3 is more confident about.
There you go.
Is that's that my subjective experience or my subjective preferences and tastes? That's my thing, and I can frame it as my thing.
One thing is You could
That's
say
interesting.
4 is, this gets at my overlaps thing where I've got sexual self-pres as giving insights into what 4 is. 4 is a certain kind of self-objectification. So if you think of, sexual instinct, at a whatever macro, what is it, archetypal, it's androgynous, formless, it's, chemistry and so forth, stirring and opposites and so forth, applied to SP, right, in my overlap, which is the self, right? So it's continually morphing, right? But it's with the self is the clay, that's you're trying to make this form. You keep trying to make this form, and the problem, so to speak, is that you've got, sexual instinct, fire and water and so forth that, melts things or or dissipates them and so forth. But at the same time, it's still leading with that creative, fiery, transformative, transmutational energy, again, applied to, well, there's a self-objectification. You're trying to mold this image, this perfect sculpture of yourself. And then going back to 3, that influences, again, got this psychological athleticism or muscularity. So it's a little bit more capable in some sense of making a form that has more, that isn't like sand running through your fingers as much as 4-wing 5.
Yeah,
Well,
like
here's
oh, go for it, babe.
well, here's what I think we're getting at with the word capable is like the heart's original function, like is to be seen and expressed and mirrored, and like we go back to object relations, like the attention that you're given really shapes a lot of how you hold yourself as a person, and how you hold your identity and how you're able to like walk through the world with that identity. And I think the absence of 3 in forming 5 is what creates that like sand running through the fingers thing. It doesn't allow mirroring. It doesn't know how to see itself in context against everything else, which is why it has to start over and over and over again. Where forming 3, yes, it's doing the it's doing the like frustration thing. It's doing the like, that's not good enough, that's not good enough, that's not good enough. But it can hold a little bit more of itself, just because there is a way that mirroring is coming in, which like there's like a way we could even say that there's a way, and I don't know that I totally feel confident about even what I'm about to say, but there's a way that it feels more comfortable knowing what is wrong with the image, with the gaze, like the seeing that it's getting based on the mirroring that it does allow to come in. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like 4-wing 5 is double with rejection, double with rejection. Did I say that? Has the rejection wing, it's double withdrawn, it's double hexad. Like there just isn't any influence, any seeing. That is absolutely not allowed, because if that comes in, that means my original identity material is not me. It's not just me.
Right.
And so it's this like, it's just this like cycle that continues going, because without that mirroring, the identity project is like more sensitive, So there's like it's like a bit more precarious just being double withdrawn.
Here's one way to say it is, again, with my overlaps thing, 5 overlaps SPSX. So it's 2 social blind overlaps, whereas 3 overlaps with social. So
Right.
it kind of, well, 4-wing 5 just is the least intelligent about what's going on out there in the social realm, or the being seen, or the, you know what I mean, or form, or what's even happening out there.
Or
in a
you
certain way.
like one thing that shows up when I see in 4-wing 4s in interviews, that the 4-wing 3s, not always, but have some ability to articulate their separateness in detail. If they want to.
Yeah.
And the 4-wing 5s sort of end up having this sort of like empty space that they're, either at first I was thinking that's on purpose, but now I'm starting to understand that that's what it is.
No, it's a true obliviousness.
That is like an empty space, and that you kind of have to go in there to figure out what it is. So when you're being asked to sort of like articulate,
reflect on that,
what that is, it's like, how am I going to articulate to you what this God
Yep.
particle is? Like, that's not the point
Right.
of it.
One way to say it again with the overlaps is like social to me is the personality instinct, right? And so if you're, again, double overlap, 4-wing 5 is sort of not having a clear concept of one's personality on some level in
Mhm.
a way.
That's
The
interesting.
form,
Yeah.
The form, anyway.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then when we look at who are the 2 4-wing 5s that you guys typed recently? One is Bob Dylan is 4-wing 5, right?
What's his
And
face?
then-
There's another guy, Leonard Cohen was
That's
the
who
last
I was
guy.
thinking of. Yeah. Oh, love him. Yeah. But yeah, there is a way that when you listen to interviews or, read any kind of like
Mhm.
material on them, anytime they are asked to reflect on anytime that they are asked to speak on the influence of their work on, I don't know, the people that are receiving it, they like short circuit. There's like
Yeah.
a way that they just like they're like, that's annoying. That I don't, what is that question? It's
Yeah,
just
they
like,
don't-
it gets rejected right away,
Yeah.
right away. It's just like, that's a waste of time. Like, can we go back to talking about like me, not me in like a narcissistic sense, but me in like my work, like
Mhm.
my offering here, because that's another thing. 4-wing 5 has the rejection piece. And so its search is also an offering. It is trying to find something that is like needed, completely uninfluenced by anything else. And because it doesn't have that, we'll say for the sake of, I don't know, I'll frame it this way. Hopefully that, I don't know, whatever, you guys will figure it out. It doesn't have the distractibility that 3 has. It can really go into like the depths of the beyond or whatever in order to
Mhm.
find some kind of insight and then bring it back out into the world. And that's like the reaction that you get from Leonard Cohen and from Bob Dylan when they're asked to like, how does this impact other people? Where they're like, I don't give a fuck how it impact. Like, that's not, is it
It's not the point.
useful or is it not? Like, I don't care about how it's like impacting people or like, what are you asking what my influence was on this? I was doing something, I did something, just take it and shut up and like move on. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's like a certain thrust. There's like a certain kind of thrust that 4-wing 5 has that I don't think 4-wing 3 has, because 4-wing 5 borrows from that rejection piece. I mean, I guess they're thrusting in different ways, but
Different kinds of thrusting.
there's I heard it as soon as I said it.
You set yourself up for that one.
Yeah, I did.
I think there's something to what you're like the rejection thing. There is like a, let's see, there is like a thing I'm like all the useless 4-wing 5 stuff does feel somehow useful to others if they got it in some way.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
so there is that piece that does have like a pseudo social kind of element. Like there is like a I don't know how to put it, like
There's a utility in there.
It's competency.
Or like an
still.
offering. It's still
Yeah.
competency, right? Yeah.
and it's like not it's if you seek it out, it's got some juice here, but you have to like know you even want it kind of energy. You have to like come into my hut and like be curious about it and not expect
really
like a
good.
concrete answer.
Right,
You're not
right.
it's gonna be
Whatever the nugget is, it's at a smaller, a laser point.
Wormhole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah
Mhm.
yeah
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
potent. Yeah, it's potent.
But one thing I thought was really interesting, just in light of our different wing on our 4 fixes, is like what I've noticed, David and Emeka, with you guys is you guys are really particular about the ways that you are seen. And I don't mean in the sense of like how everybody just like sees you, but like the ways you're mirrored, right? Like you're very
Mhm.
particular
Mhm.
if your identity is held with the kind of quality or flavor that feels worthy is not the right word, but it's something in that neighborhood. It's
Seen.
like
Yeah.
it's like it's got to be a real seeing. And I noticed like how you guys can be very there's a certain how to put it, like it's like a aloof, dismissive kind of playful kind of thing about it, and then once it gets like mirrored right, like then you guys will be really self-revealing and really open. You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Yes, that's true.
it's like there's
Wet,
like a certain
like
vibration level, and if somebody gets that vibration level, like then you'll really start like getting really personal, you know, and really just like it'll just like really flow out, but it's like it had to be met at that certain level. And what I noticed with myself is I'll have my own version of that, but like I know I don't know if that quite the texture of this, but like you know, like last zone, you guys were giving me different kind of mirroring, and it was like really it was meaningful to me, but it was really like, oh, that's interesting. You know, like I could feel like the
Well,
five-ish kind of flavor of it, and trying to like hold it with
wow,
this
that's
sort
good.
of you know, changing geometric form that was like in me that I like couldn't, you know, I was like it couldn't quite. There was something there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
that's
that's making
interesting.
sense.
That's interesting.
No, that makes perfect sense. It goes
Well, you're
back
not
to
attaching to the being seen,
Yeah.
like the three-wing
yeah.
would, right? You know
yeah.
what I
I
mean? It's
mean,
a
we
gate
could
to attachment. Yeah.
yeah, you could say attaching, but there's still a connotation of it being some kind of like false response. It's like the heart center is rooted in 3, which is just an open, exposed, like vulnerable, like heart channel or whatever. And so I think what
Yeah.
is being articulated is that like when the 4-wing 3, when David and Emeka, when you guys are seen at the right frequency, like when you feel seen, that opens up the channel.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
and then it's like a connective experience. Whereas
Yep.
4-wing 5 lacking 3, it's like it's very tough to get that. It's you know, it's harder to open that
Yeah.
just because it moves into like the conceptual
Yeah,
land.
harder to touch into, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really good. Because when we'll touch in with you guys, I'll feel more of like that heartstream, and there is like a shared kind of like we're like breathing together. I'll notice that when you guys touch in with me, it's like I get it's like I think it's related to this sense of smallness of avarice where I can get very like there can be a lot of emotion, but I feel very like punctured, like very like there's I feel weak in a certain way. Like it feels like there's like a lot of like black tears, you know, black oil spill coming out of the balloon of the God particle or whatever, you know, coming out, and it feels like I'm less intact in a way where I'm like standing with you, whereas like I feel like when you guys feel that kind of mirroring, like and the heartstrings happening, but you're still like really like intact.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, and that's kind of what I mean when I'm saying, that's one of the things I mean when I'm saying using the word attach as an attachment. There's something to attach to.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also the 3 element of like that when it's tapped, it's like it, you know, it comes out. Like it comes out. It wants to display, it wants to
Right,
share,
that's
it wants
right.
to
Yeah,
be
that's true.
connected, it
Yeah.
wants to give, you know.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, because like you know, I mean, I have my own versions too, but like one thing I appreciate about you both with your 4-3 fixes is like you like to show yourselves off in a particular way. Like you like to show off your interestingness in a particular way. You know, like we get, you
That's
know,
true.
it can be everything from like, you know, I mean, it shows up especially with y'all's music, you know, and all that kind of stuff, and like what David likes to play, and what Emeka likes to set up, you know, and like it's kind of or like this particular take this and
Right,
you'll have
yeah.
this experience like
Yeah.
this, you know.
Yeah.
Aw. That's so sweet.
Yeah, it's got like a sommelier
It's very
kind of
heartful.
like
It's
Small-
very heartful.
yeah,
Sommelier,
you know, just like
exactly.
very
There you go.
distinct,
That's it.
like refined
Curating.
tastes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe we can get into like the different aesthetics of, because that's another way of, I mean, because you can get into
Yeah.
the descriptions of these types, but there's an aesthetic knowing of these things that can convey it better than anything we could ever say. And there is like a operatic kind of aesthetic that 4-wing 3 is going for, that's reflected in this sort of sommelier, like I've got the finest
Yeah.
jewel, you know,
That's
I've
so
got
true.
the best,
Exact
the most
flavor.
you know,
Yes,
flavor
Anna
profile.
Wintour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, just like the refined, best operatic, you know, and the 4-wing 5 aesthetic is so it's almost kind of reflecting in some sense the emptiness of the void, and there's a kind of anti-refinement there. That's not stylish.
That's true.
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's an artfulness
Excuse
there, but there's a beauty in this sort of void. And
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's like
The
a
existentialism. Mm-hmm.
so it's less about form and more about just the the beauty of the nothing in a certain sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say what is the word to use for that because it's not nihilistic comes up, but that's actually not what it is at all.
No.
It's like existential also feels too 9. It's like there's like a
Yeah, I think about it the way I
don't
think of
know.
like sometimes I'll see images of the deep, vast ocean where you're just staring into how big and vast and bottomless something is.
Okay.
And there's like what kind of what gets evoked in you when you're staring into something that has no bottom and you can't see what's there and you want to get close, you want to go dive deeper to find what it is. That sense of the call of the void and some kind of that sort of like
call
elegant
of the
beauty
void.
of that.
Mhm.
But it's not the sort of operatic
Right.
sommelier beauty of Four Wing
Curation.
3.
And
It's
theater is
right.
Theater
Yeah.
is good. Yeah.
It's a mysterious sort of like it's mystery. It's like there's a certain kind of bottomless
Mystery is
mystery
Mhm.
that
That's
it's
right.
kind of evoking because it's like you can't quite perceive what it is,
Yeah.
but you get a glimpse. That type of
Mhm.
beauty.
Here's another
that's
aspect
yeah,
of
that's
the
beautiful.
of the
Mhm.
opposite to 9 and the gut or body being existence. It's something with 4-wing 5 is getting at something fundamental about existence itself, as opposed
Definitely.
to
Yeah.
the styles of existing,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
is
Oh,
4-wing
that's
3.
good. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Existential kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, like to what both you guys are saying, like with Four Wing 3, have you ever seen like images of mosques in Tehran or in Iran? Like really those like colorful, like let me see if I can find
see if you can get an image of them.
there's like these incredible Iranian mosques that have these like
Are they like the ones in like Morocco and so forth? You know what I'm talking about? They're maybe
I think these are Iran. Let me here. I'm gonna send this in the chat real quick. But like these things are unbelievable.
I
And
think I
but
know
this
what
is
you're
like here's an example on the Facebook chat.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of variations on that, but like that
Right.
level of um,
Ornate detail.
ornate, and there is something kind of like deep cosmic, but
It's there's some organization. There's a design to it. I don't know.
Yes.
There's
Exactly.
something.
Yeah, design. That's a good word for that.
Yes.
even the colors, like the colors aren't just like they're meant to be seen. These colors,
There you go.
like
That's good. Yeah.
and yeah, just search mosques. I mean, I just searched mosques Iran, and
That's
a
really
lot of these
cool.
showed up. But
Yeah, there's some
they're
amazing ones.
Ugh,
gorgeous. Like
gorgeous. Yeah.
the fact that our government, the fuck shitty, because Iran is a place I've wanted to go forever.
Oh yeah.
Like look at
it's-
this one I just put in there. See, and it's like
Ugh,
it's
wow.
yellows, it's blues, it's reds,
That's
it's
incredible.
purples. But it's there is shadow to it, and the different texture, like the very textured, and it's very. I mean, like this is what you see when you're on mushrooms. Like this is what
Right.
you see.
Right.
But this is a bit more Four Wing 3 to me.
Yes.
Because it's articulating itself to
Mhm.
be seen in great specific detail, but it's
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. And like, yeah, what Emeka, you were saying, yeah, I feel like my first girlfriend was a 4 Wing 5, and like there is this like relationship to absence thing about
Mhm.
it, and it is kind of like it's like if you those kind of patterns on the mosques, if you could like if
Here's
you
one.
like had really dark water and it was like late at night and you could see like the water moving and you could kind of get a glimpse of those kind of shapes underneath the surface of
Yes.
the water, like that I feel like has more 4 Wing 5 energy.
Mhm.
Just sent
Mhm.
one of the ones I'm talking about, like
Oh,
Morocco.
cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's you're more likely to just say to like approaching beauty, like what most people would consider beauty in Four Wing 3, and the beauty that Four Wing 5 is going for is it's not I guess you could just say it's darker and it's less articulated in a sense that it's less about the form and more about the sort of unreachable mystery of it.
There's always
Mhm.
something being
Yeah.
taken away in the process of it giving,
That's
right?
good.
Like with
Yeah.
with 4 and 5 stuff. Like
Oh,
I
that
was
is good. Yeah.
Mhm.
thinking about like what I find beautiful, and it always has some suggestion of the thing's own loss in it. You know, it's never like those mosque things are gorgeous, but they're not. They're you know, inspiring awe and
Mhm.
complexity and specificity, but they're not flirting with its own demise in the same way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like 4 and
Mm.
5 stuff has this, like, you know, it's like we made that joke of like, is John gonna kill himself? You know, it's like that
Right.
like that kind of quality of like it's always like not totally here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's held more privately, just to put it very simply. Like
Mm.
there's a way that like 4 as a withdrawn image type and to begin with is going to be held privately, but forming 3 has a way that's like, hey, if you can come in here and see this, I
Mhm.
will display it. It is actually on display. It's just you have to have the eyes to see it. And 4-wing 5 is going to be that much more protected because it's double withdrawn. There's a way that like the material just isn't actually meant to be seen and witnessed by other people,
That's really
or
neat.
it changes there's like that physics thing. I always fucking forget what this is.
Heisenberg.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, great. Okay, I still don't know, but it's that physics thing where as soon as something is witnessed, the material, the behavior of it changes.
Mhm.
That feels like the 4-wing 5 relationship to its image material, to its identity material. It's like it actually can't be seen because it'll change.
And
This
it
is-
It'll
does.
change.
this-
It's
this is-
it's not for you.
This reminded me of a Bob Dylan, again, 4-wing 5 song. He's
Also
got a
love him.
song. It's one of my favorite ones of his. I'm not a big fan, but some of them I really like. It's called Not Dark Yet. And it's basically, I'm going to die, right? It's not dark yet, but it's getting there, that kind of thing. And just a couple lines from it. Shadows are falling, and I've been here all day. It's too hot to sleep, and time is running away. I feel like my soul has turned into steel. I've still got the scars that the sun didn't heal. There's not even room enough to be anywhere. It's not dark yet, but it's getting there. And then, well, my sense of humanity has gone down the drain. Behind every beautiful thing, there's been some kind of pain, etc.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say, that what 4-wing 5 is willing to show is the decay of everything. So you're actually going to get more of just trying to embody
Like the
like
entropy of
death
everything.
itself.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
it's everything is sort of diseased, and
It
there's a
gets
sort
at
of
the SPSX 5 overlap too, right there.
so that the thing that 4 is, I mean, it's darker aesthetic. It's also just trying to embody almost like an apocalyptic
Right. Yeah.
death.
Dystopian.
Like
Mhm.
I've been infected with death. Death is almost invading this existence. I want to embody the sense that everything is empty and decaying and dying. And so that's one clear I think difference between part of the why they're not trying to be stylish, because it's like the aesthetic that 4-wing 5 goes for, like, you look at Marilyn Manson, and like he's putting on tattoos that's just almost like he looks like a diseased leper. Like that's what he's going for.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. It's almost like there's almost like that would be false. To stylize myself would be like, that would be misrepresenting myself, misrepresenting
right there,
my
yeah.
vision, my gaze, the
There's
thing
no-
that I'm like trying to reveal or show or something like that. I'm not showing growth. I'm not showing life and exaltation and
And 3-wing gives the
building
artifice.
and glory. It's
Three-fig-
right, exactly.
Just an advertisement, a mask, but it's a mask or something.
Gets at that functional piece. Like 4-wing
Yeah.
3 is still in the world, still existing.
Yeah.
It's not like got 1 foot out of existence, whereas 4-wing 5 is
Right.
undecided about whether they're going to stay.
Yeah. You
Uh-huh.
you have to put on your your game face, right? That's going into the world, right?
Right.
So that's
For
3.
for forming 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and or
it's putting
3
your
in
best
general,
foot
right?
forward. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's the overlap again of 3 and social and
Right.
personality, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
good.
what I'm advertising today, so that I can
Mm-hmm.
move in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I had to count the
Oh yeah,
the
Iljaja, or how you say?
little, yeah.
Wait, try that again.
It's
Her name
the
is a nothing.
underscore LJILJA, and I think she's probably
Four and five.
sexual 4 and 5.
Mm.
What do you think?
She sure seems
I think
that
we
way.
might have thought she was maybe a social self-pres.
Oh,
4 and
yeah, that's
5,
right.
possibly.
She's so body, but yeah, the social person can have that. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
body and like wounding the body, and
Mm-hmm.
she looks like her art, or like her ritual style is like representing uh the 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 ripping apart of the body that birth represents. You know, like
Mhm.
she's birthing the nothingness, and she's like the representing like the afterbirth of it or something.
She's really
Can you
interesting.
send that into the
Yeah.
chat? Okay. How do you guys feel knowing that we're talking about your heart centers? Are you guys feeling represented? Are you guys feeling seen? Are you feeling
Sure.
All
I
right.
mean, what do I think?
Okay.
No, I think all conversations that like bring up new insights. Like this has brought up some interesting stuff. I'm just thinking about doing this of things I didn't realize in the terms of the differences of image making between 4-3 and 4-5, and how there is kind of an inherent innate ability to stylize and make one's identity distinct, in a sense that's always like I want to get more and more and more specific, and get more specific about what my thing is, and this sort of sommelier. And just seeing the 4-5 thing in John and other 4-5s, where it is this formless, ephemeral kind of downward, going into the cave again to figure out what this thing is
Mhm.
and that's very interesting, because I mean we talked about all these types and the different ways that how different it can seem, even though they're the same type, what the wing is adding to that type. So
Mhm.
it's become even more clear now, just as we've been talking about it, what a different direction that is.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. John, how do you feel with our 4-5 chit chat?
Well, I'm noticing like a certain, maybe it's vulnerability, or there's like a certain shakiness in my heart, like a little bit, like it's something's getting, like some seeing is entering or something, and it's like I'm a
Okay,
little uncomfortable with it.
Heisenberg's taking Heisenberg whatever principles.
Yeah, like
being enforced.
Like I can feel like I don't feel very solid right now,
Oh,
and like embodied. Like I mean I'm embodied, but like I feel a little bit like, so I don't know how to sort of nail it, but I also feel appreciative, because I do feel like kind of naming what is going on in me is something that you guys have all helped a lot in, and having those kind of coordinates like is useful, even if I like my personality will reject some of them
Mhm.
or counter to it. But it's like um like people always accuse me of trying to be the only 4 because of not a 4, so that I can be the most special. But like I actually find it I don't want to be the only 4, or the only 4-5, or one of the only 4-5s, because there's nothing that I'd like to have pointed to something, and
Right.
like kind of seen how others respond to it, so that I can kind of get like that, some of that external mirroring in some way of like, oh, where does this locate for people? Because I think like even all my stuff about feeling unattractive, like there's personal issues and blah blah blah, but I think there's also just that being a 4-5 thing, like I can't really take in how it's being responded to on a level. Like when Josh and I were doing our that like sort of interview about the process of doing the intro course, Josh gave me some very gentle and and light roasting about how annoying it is to work with me. And and one of the things and then he got complimentary, and he said something about, he was talking about me and my communication style. And what he was noticing was, like, as it's 3-wing 2 social, he needs, like, to know that, like, when we're recording, he needs to know that I'm, like, receiving it, even though we're recording, and my thought, it's like, oh, it's the people who live inside the computer who are getting the who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Whereas Josh, like, needs more anchoring into me going, even though he knows he's doing a good job, he kind of just needs to be connected.
Yeah.
And I would, as soon as, like, we'd be recording, and then, like, and then I'm done with my piece, and I'll like nod and stuff, but I'm like disconnected now. I'm like, and he can't like feel where I'm at, so he said something like, he has the perception that, like, he said something like, when I speak, I'm like speaking from so kind of like far inside myself that it's like launching a ball over a fence that I can't see the other side of. So I'm like, I don't know what's gonna land or stick or anything. But he was like, there was something in that just felt really right. And so because there's not like much 4-wing 5 stuff to even, and like I'm really not a Bob Dylan fan at all. Like I really don't like, he just really doesn't do anything for me. There's just like, I don't know, I'm not seeing that kind of thing in the world. So you guys talking about this, I appreciate it. Is what I'm long-winded 5-fix what I'm saying. I appreciate it.
Okay, great.
The funny thing is, the first friend I ever made on the Enneagram forums was a lady who was actually a 4-wing 5, strangely enough.
That's right. I remember that.
And she lived in the forest by herself, and she had like a couple properties that she was managing, or, that's how she made her money. And every time she would meet a person to do anything, she would need like a week to recover because her nervous system was so overwhelmed from contact with other people. And I think at one point she sent me a drawing that she did, and it looked like scribbles by a mentally insane person. She was very, we argued all the time about like typings and Enneagram stuff. She was very reactive, but like it's crazy, like the first person I actually was friends with was actually a 4-wing 5.
Cool.
She was in her 50s at the time. And then that other friend I'll probably cut this up, but like that kid who you mentored, I actually talked to him for quite a bit on Instagram, and he was really interesting. It's too bad that he's gone, but he was he had that sort of, I figured out the puzzle of the universe, and he'd like come up with some grand a grand model of consciousness. I wish I still had the document that he sent me, but it was just like, it reminded me of you, basically, like if you were like a kid.
No, knowing him was like kind of wild,
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like when we first started talking, he just like, he there was a little bit of warm up, and then he just like launched into how shitty everything is. And then I was like, I think you're totally right. Like, and instead of being like, no, it's gonna be like, to cheer him up or something, and but when I did that, like, he relaxed big time.
Yeah.
Like he felt really much better just talking to him, and it was cool. Yeah, it makes me.
And to piggyback off of that, some people might interpret that as hopelessness, but it's like, it's actually a comfortable way to relate. Like, hey, everything is shit. Everything is going to shit. It doesn't mean that we're going to live our lives from that place of nothing can work. But if we can just meet each other from that emotional baseline, I can feel comfortable with you.
There you go.
I can feel that you get it, and then we can actually work on stuff. But like, if someone's being overly hopeful and positive about, the way things are, it does feel, I start to get uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know what reality you're paying attention to.
We're not living anywhere in the same reality.
But it's not hopelessness, because it doesn't mean that you don't try, but there is a sense of, can we just like meet at this place, at this sort of negative place, and we can go from there, kind of thing.
Totally.
I had the privilege, as a non sequitur, but I had the privilege of being in a band with a 4-wing 3 and a 4-wing 5. And they'd known each other since they were toddlers, So they were brothers, basically, almost. They lived across the street from each other when they were kids, and they hated each other in the true beautiful way that fours hate and disdain and despise each other. And so it was interesting to, well, just that conflict. It was, it was a conflict of the four-wing three, advertising his style and kind of branding himself and being more charming in the world and all those kinds of things. And my four-wing five friend Pat, hating him for that, thinking,
Just hating.
he was fake, and the four-wing three, Pat's too negative, or just like get a style or do something, just do something.
Get a style.
Just whatever. Just, figure it out, man.
Style.
Joseph definitely has that critique of you, John. Is like, you're just like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? He thinks your like R&B thing is really cringe. What else?
That's funny.
just stylistically, he's like, oh no, that's just wrong.
That's so funny.
That's so funny.
Yeah, like I'll be into stuff like R&B because I like it, and it's
Right.
like I know that it sits in people's minds in a particular way. Like I just did an episode on Star Wars, and I know that's like the most mainstream bullshit anyway, but I'm like, I like
I
it,
don't
you know.
care,
Yep.
I've had people like who follow me, just like little whatevers who like listen to the podcast, like message me and be like, you have such basic music tastes. How
There's
fuck you.
more self-contained, anti-style in 4-wing 5.
That's true.
4-wing 3 is a little bit more like, wanting to be cool to a certain degree.
That's right.
That's aware that, okay, this is pretty lame.
Yeah.
I'm like, Egypt. Ancient Egypt is interesting.
So are there any more beats that we want to hit? I think we've been going for like
I
an
think
hour
this is
and a half.
good.
Yeah.
But
I think this has been really rich. Yeah.
it makes me want to have us almost like almost do like a basics of the types, since we've gone through this like 4 years of doing this.
No, that's
and
true.
Like when we were all just sharing stuff, it was like, wow, this is so precise, and it was new because like we've I don't know, have a sense of where we all hold these things, but just the shared articulation is like such in a different place than it was when we first started doing this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've learned to talk also. That's one thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm very proud of that.
Even when we listened to, I listened to that first one with the wings that Alexandra did at 115, and David, you always say great stuff, but like you are more verbal like now, like even 115, which is not
that far.
That long ago.
I mean, some people they take time. I
Greatness takes time.
I thought I'd get there in my late 50s. I might as well learn how to speak. Nothing can be rushed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even in that episode, like we were joking about David's mouth noises, and like David doesn't do that as much anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well,
Look at him. He's
speaks.
articulated. He's articulated.
He doesn't just grunt and
Yeah.
I forget how much of a thing that was.
Yeah, there was an opening to an episode that was just David's noises.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we did that. People were asked for it.
Well, that's because I wasn't speaking, so they're just sounds.
But no, that's a good point. Like there's so much that we've learned, and our ability to articulate has gotten a lot better. Or not just individually, but collectively. It's like a vortex, whenever we do it together. And so, stuff comes up that I've never heard before that's, new and fresh. So, yeah, it's always interesting.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
No, this would be a
that
good
was
one.
good.
This
Yeah, that
would be a
was
good one. Oh, so
Don't
we should
forget, though,
figure out.
3-wing 4 is the best hard type, though.
Shut up.
All right.
I mean, well, I'll say this: 3-wing 4 is probably the toughest. Well, cold toughness you guys have been seeing a dude that gunned down the CEO. Me and Lewis have been
obsessed with him.
talking about how this is
in
3-4 assassin.
Yeah, probably. I'm elated about that guy. What a fucking win for the left. This just like a sexy, sleek, efficient assassin, and he's hot. Like that's amazing.
Well,
did you guys hear that his like backpack supposedly was like found in the park or something, and it's just full of Monopoly money?
Yes, he's trolling.
Amazing.
Well,
This is the best thing that's ever happened in my existence.
And the words on the bullet cases, like
defend,
amazing.
deny.
I mean, that's social
depose.
self-pres shit, like 100 million%. Come
And
on.
What's the thing that his company was doing? What was the bad thing? I don't.
Well, it's just the biggest insurance company, and that just denies
They denied
people's
millions of
claims.
people.
Oh,
They have
Like
they have a
It had
faulty,
AI. It had
Yeah.
it had AI technology running the like approval or denial
They
of
had
the
a
claims or whatever.
90% error rate.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's also like one of the richest companies in the country or the world or something like that. Then this is
Well-
like behind Apple and Amazon that at least sells products to consumers.
Mm.
This company makes all of its money by denying people their claims.
Mm.
So yeah, the
think
guy's ugly anyway, so it's fine.
All this stuff is coming about the guy. Like he's been living separately from his wife for years, and he's got involved in some kind of like shady stock dump. But there's also some. I mean, I'm trying to figure out like, is this guy just an independent dude that said I'm going to kill this CEO, or was this a hit for hire?
Right.
And
Right.
I just don't believe because it's so precise. He knew exactly where he was
It's so
going to be.
precise.
And he like there's no security. So I'm gonna sit here and believe that some like even a skilled pro, that's a very difficult maneuver. Someone had to help him. Like I
Well-
think it might have been hired.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the deep state military industrial complex of Illuminati.
I mean,
because he
Deep
was
State
gonna-
would love him. Would love the CEO. You know, like
Well, but maybe he was going to reveal that the whole COVID thing was a plan, and that the shots.
Okay.
You see,
reeling in
All right,
17.
ladies
Come
and
with me.
gentlemen.
Come
Ladies
with
and
me.
gentlemen, thank you
But-
for listening to our episode today.
The guy, his gun jammed like while he was shooting, and he
Yeah.
corrected.
I think he
So,
knew.
like,
yeah.
Oh,
He
okay.
was good.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like he was really fucking good.
Well, there you
Some
go.
gun experts
Illuminati.
The
have
best.
said that in order for to have the quietest gun possible, he could have had one of these guns that were manual reloads, and the possibility that it might jam was something he was very prepared for because he didn't
Oh,
skip
wow.
a beat whatsoever. So that this had to be extremely silent, and because there wasn't an automatic reload, because the way he did it was like this guy has practiced this, like he was so prepared.
So
Yeah, I
awesome.
watched
And he
the
had-
video too. It was so clean.
Exit, there was a bike waiting, and he went straight to Central Park, which doesn't have cameras for 60, like I don't know how many blocks. So it's like complete dead zone, unloads the backpack, and then goes to the bus station, and he's gone. Like that's
So cool.
that's like not
Amazing.
who can do that. If I think it's a hired hit. Somebody fucking hired him for that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard for
I
me to
hope so.
believe an independent citizen who's like, I'm going to take out the CEO and fucking
Like,
just.
Because if he's a professional, like it's more likely he won't get caught. Which
Right.
True.
if he just never gets caught, like just that anxiety given to
Yeah.
CEOs, like
Yeah.
that and
Yep.
oh my god, yeah, like after all this political shit, then it's like both right and left people have been uniting in their love
Yeah.
of dead, and
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this is the only hope on the horizon.
Right. Because I mean, the truth is we don't really know. I mean, we can assume what like side he's on, but we don't actually really know.
No.
See,
And
see what
so
I'm
there's
saying?
okay, David, like sit back down. Just color your coloring book, please.
I've got Alex Jones on my Rolodex.
But it's cool that it's been 4
Uh.
days and they still don't have any serious leads, and
Mhm.
I'm starting to think that if he was hired by some other rival CEOs or whatever the fuck, they're never gonna catch him. I don't think. That
Oh,
they're
I
gonna catch
love
him.
it.
I would
love
assume
it. I
it's
heard the-
socially motivated. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Mhm, that-
social
of course,
justice.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. There's yeah, I love that also the and who knows if those are like the actual images of him, but just him getting coffee, and apparently those images are from him just like flirting with the barista.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They wanted it as public and as loud as possible, to deny, depose, whatever. Like, and so, like, I mean, New York is so risky. Like, everything's a camera, and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Why,
Yeah.
if it was a hit, then why couldn't he have intercepted him in something in a place that's public?
And wife and kids and all that stuff, or what's his?
Yeah, he's got wife and kids, but they've been separated for a couple of years
Yeah.
apparently, and they live in separate houses.
Dream
Wow.
marriage.
I'm sure she's like, I wonder how she feels. She's probably like, fuck that asshole. But she put out a statement that seemed,
What'd she say?
oh, this is like a senseless kill, blah, blah, blah. You know, she said the thing that you would normally say, but
Well,
But on the inside.
But
on the inside,
I'll
she
show
said-
you a video of what she's doing right now.
We should oh God.
There's a movie called Danger Diabolic, and it's these two people just in a bed of money, and it's so funny.
There you go. Yeah, that's what you should do now. In other words.
Yeah, so she's like, oh, the senseless killing. Oh, wait, here it is.
oh no, census killing.
Yeah,
She's
I'll put
like,
it in the chat.
she's about to be rich by this guy who wanted to separate and live in a separate house. Like, they're not having sex anymore. Wow.
Nice.
I wonder what that's like.
I know. I would do that.
Fucking in a bed full of money. It's probably
Yeah,
gross
sounds
because
a
money's
little
dirty.
unsanitary, yeah. But the idea of it, yeah, I'm down with
The image.
yeah.
So then I was gonna say we should, before the end of the year, our end of the year bonanza, where we drink and do drugs and talk about the year that's been.
End of the year. Get
End of the year.
wasted.
Yep.
Yeah, get wasted.
Year in review.
Cool.
All right, well,
Aw,
great
another
pod. But,
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, this
got
was
it.
great.
All right.
All right, y'all.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, good night, y'all. It was good.
Yeah, it's really good. All right.
Cool.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.